For exercise P4-21, I'm going to start this pretty much from kind of a top view perspective. So I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to draw this line 35, which is the overall width of this particular piece. And then I'm going to draw this down here. And I could put in the angle, but since the angle is referenced from the other side, I'll just go ahead and put it in like this. This segment here is going to be perpendicular to the line that I just created. And then this will be perpendicular, and then it's going to go straight across up to here. And again, perpendicular, and then I'm just going to close it off. Okay, so now there's some constraints that I need to place on here so that I get everything the way that I want everything to be. The first one I'm going to do is place a perpendicular constraint between here, or not there and there. I'm going to place a perpendicular constraint between here and here. Okay, that constraint already exists, so I can go ahead and place the other constraints that I want. Since this object is for the most part symmetrical, I'm going to apply some equal constraints. I want this line and this line to be equal. I want this one and this one to be equal, and I want this one and this one to be equal. Now, what that should do for me is if I click and drag this, it should be proportionately moving the stuff now, which I can see that it is. And I shouldn't be able to go out of symmetry because everything now has that equal constraint. So the next thing I want to do is I want to begin to place some of my dimensions. I know that I have a dimension of 80 for this line segment right here, so I'm just going to go to dimension, and we'll place this one in here at 80, and that's going to take and throw some things out of whack for me, so I just want to see if I can't drag this thing around a little bit to make it kind of look like it's supposed to, and it doesn't look like it's being very cooperative with me right now. If I drag this back out this way and then drag this down, okay, now it's starting to kind of look like it's supposed to again, which is ultimately what I'm trying to do. The distance between here and here is 15. The angle between these two is 60 degrees. The distance here is 15 degrees. And now you can see that everything is lined up the way that it is supposed to be. Now I can draw in my lines. Actually, this dimension is not 35. This dimension is 35. It's good to always double check your dimensions as you go to make sure that you're doing everything correctly. Now I can draw a line right here and right here, and those are going to serve as the basis for my top. And I also want to draw a line straight across here and give that a dimension of 40, which is going to serve as the basis for the front portion of this. So now I'm just going to orbit this thing around and finish my sketch. The first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to extrude this back piece. And to get the height for this back piece, you got to do a little bit of math. It's 14 from the top to the hole. The hole is 13 above the middle rib piece, and then that is 8 above the base. So the overall height in this case is going to be 14 plus 13 plus 8. So I'll put that in and I'll extrude that piece. Now I'm going to go back and share my sketch. And now I'm going to extrude this and this, their height, which is going to be 20. And then one last extrusion of this piece, which is 8. And I'll say OK to that. Now I can right click back on my sketch 1 and turn off my visibility. Now there's a lot of things that need to occur on this piece, and one of them is going to be the holes. So I'm going to go ahead and place the holes on this surface now. So I'll go to my hole command. I want it on this face, My reference edges are going to be the right edge and the bottom edge. From the bottom, it comes up 10. From the right edge, it comes in 12. This hole has an overall diameter of 10. Okay, now one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to say through all. I want to change this to 2 and spin this thing around and select the back surface. Because if I go through all, once I get to these other holes in here, they may cut out portions of this over here. So I will apply that, and then again on this face, now we're working with a diameter of 5. My reference edges again, my right edge, my bottom edge. In this case it is 14 up from the bottom. And the distance from the right hand side is 40. So once I have that in there, again, instead of through all, I'm going to select 2. And if you notice, by clicking right here, I can actually select that back edge without orbiting around to it. So I will apply that and then grab this next edge again. And again, I want my left edge and my bottom edge. Over here, my dimension is going to be 14. And here, my dimension is going to be 12 plus 28 plus 25 to locate that. Now you see, if I leave it through all, it's going to cut this piece out over here. So again, I just want to select 2 and grab that face right there and go ahead and hit my checkbox. Now, back when I originally did this, I started, my origin point was up here. So if I want to make use of these holes on this side, I have to create a new plane. So I'm going to click on the plane button, and I want to click a plane that bisects this surface. And to do that, I click the 2 faces that I want the plane to appear directly between. So by clicking those 2, I get this plane right here. The easier way would have been start so that the origin point rested at the middle of this piece. That way I'd have a default plane. Now I can go to mirror, and when selecting features, I'll click on these 3 features. My mirror plane is going to be this one here, and I can say OK. Now I'm going to right click on that plane and uncheck visibility. So now I've got all of the holes in that I need to have in for that particular part. Now I'm going to go ahead and create my next hole, which is going to be this one here. And it is on this surface, but instead of putting in the dimensions, I know from the dimensions in the book that this is centered across here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the top, but I'm going to pick the center grip on top. And then when I pick my right edge, it should already have the accurate dimension in for that. So I only have to put in 1 dimension, which is going to be 14. And I will change my diameter for this particular hole to 12 and apply that one. The hole that is in this surface is not dimensioned really at all other than the size, and that's an indication to me that it is completely centered. So I'm going to click on this surface, and for my reference edges I'm going to click the midpoint on this and the midpoint on this. And the midpoint on that gave me something kind of weird that I wasn't expecting, because it lined it up, so we may actually have to place 1 dimension in here. So it's on this face, it is lined up in the middle of here, and since it is 40, we can just make this 20. Now notice I do not have a reference 2, but at this point I don't need a reference 2 because I see this green dot right here. When I can see that green dot, it pretty much lets me know that it's lined up in the middle, which is where it's supposed to be. The diameter of this hole is 22. So I will go ahead and apply that. So there I have pretty much all of the holes placed that need to be in this part, and the only thing I have really left is fillets. Now, as far as the fillets are concerned, all the fillets on this object are an R of 3 except 2 of them. So I'm going to go to the fillet command, and I'm going to click on this little button right here to expand this dialog box, because I'm going to do a multi-fillet, so it's going to be a little bit easier to do this way. For the radius, I'm going to pick the 2 that are supposed to be the R of 10, which is this edge and this edge. Now I'm going to come up here and hit click to add, and now I want to put in some fillets of 3. I want to be careful though, I don't want to put in all of my fillets just yet. I'm going to put in these 2 fillets, I'll put in this fillet, and then I'm going to do the front face. Now I'm picking kind of carefully because I don't know if it's going to be able to do all of these fillets at the same time. And if it fails, then all you have to do is go back and choose less options with each fillet that you're actually doing. So I'm going to hit apply, and it looks like it got most of those fillets pretty good. So now I'm going to go back, and if I go in here again and select this edge right here and hit apply, it's going to do it, but it's going to do something really weird. If you notice, it actually filleted all the way up the edge of this. For lack of a better way of explaining this, I'm going to call that a program glitch, because it's not supposed to do that. The only really way that that could have been fixed would be back before I did the fillet, or let me go back in here and edit this fillet. So I'll edit the feature, and I'm going to unselect by holding down shift this edge and this edge here, but in turn I'm going to select this edge, and you can see that it throws those fillets in all the way up. I don't want that. So I'm going to get rid of those, and I'm going to select this bottom edge and let it fillet all the way around here. And then I'll put these 2 edges back in and say OK. Now, in accordance with the book, these edges right here are also supposed to be filleted. But for the purposes of this exercise, I'm not going to fillet these edges because I know that it's not really going to build those fillets properly. It's going to take the fillet all the way up to the top surface, which is not supposed to do. So for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to leave the fillets just like this. So there you can see exercise P4-21.